المتكافل. كل دولة هي مستقلة، ولكن يجب أن تتعاون فيما بينها فيما يسمى أمن المعلومات، لأنه حقيقة أصبحت الحروب كما ترى لا تقام على ساحات الوغى، وإنما تقام على أجهزة الكمبيوتر. ودليل على ذلك انتعاش تجارة طائرة الدرونز والتخلي تدريجيا عن ما يسمى الصناعات الدفاعية الثقيلة والالتجاء إلى ما يسمى الصناعات الدفاعية الرشيقة، بمعنى التي تعتمد على الوزن الخفيف، الأهداف المؤثرة والكفاءة العالية.
المعلومات المضللة والأخبار الزائفة طبعا أصبحت توازي بروفيسور بوحنيقوي، توازي في تأثيرها كالحروب في قوتها وقدرتها على تشكيل الوعي الجماعي لدى الشعوب وتفكيك أسس ومؤسسات الدولة وخلق الفوضى ما بين الشعوب وأيضا المؤسسات الدولة. أشكرك شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور بوحنيقوي، أستاذ العلوم السياسية والعلاقات الدولية بجامعة ورقلة. شكرا. ألف شكر. مستمعينا الأفاضل، تقبلوا تحياتي أنا بالقاسم جير، نلتقي غدا في أمان الله.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers during which several decisions have been taken, notably the bill on general mobilization. And the third session of the Algerian-Turkish Planning Committee has kicked off here in Algiers under the chairmanship of the Algerian Diplomacy Chief Ahmed Attaf and his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan. The Israeli occupation forces have pursued their bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 3 Palestinians in Khan Yunis in the southern part of the enclave. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asia Bakar. Good afternoon. President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has sent a message of condolence to His Eminence Cardinal Kevin Farrell, Prefect of the Vatican and Prefect of the Catholic Church worldwide, following the death of Pope Francis. The President offered on behalf of the Algerian people and their government, and on his own behalf, the Holy Vatican, all its esteemed institutions and all Christians around the world, his deepest condolences and most sincere feelings of sympathy for the loss of this great figure. He left a lasting mark that will be preserved in letters of gold in contemporary history, as the President put it. President Tebboune said the deceased dedicated his life to spreading the love of the one God and to establishing the values of brotherhood, solidarity and coexistence among all peoples. He was also known for his sincerity and dedication to serving the causes of the weak, the oppressed and the poor, which earned him the love and abundant sympathy of the people until his death, ascending his soul to the highest companion, the President said. Meanwhile, President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers during which several decisions have been taken. Mariam Barshi has the details.
The Council of Ministers approved a bill on general mobilization aimed at defining the provisions related to the organization, preparation and implementation of general mobilization as provided for in Article 99 of the Constitution. Regarding the multidimensional national strategy to combat drugs and psychotropic substances, the President instructed the government to use specialized penitentiary facilities for serious drug-related crimes. Meanwhile, the Council of Ministers approved a 3-year reduction in the retirement age for teachers in the education sector in accordance with the President of the Republic's commitment to teachers in all 3 levels of education. Regarding the agriculture sector, the Council of Ministers approved a unified national price set at 40,000 Algerian dinars for imported aid lamb. The President affirmed that the new statistical data from the Ministry of Agriculture constitute a first step towards the sector on the right track and promoting various sectors and expanding irrigated areas. He instructed the Minister of Agriculture to closely monitor Saharan agriculture in terms of actual production levels on the ground. Regarding the organization of Intra-African Trade Fair, the Council of Ministers highlighted that the fair is of particular importance for the promotion of intra-African trade. Therefore, the President of the Republic ordered that all necessary means be available to allow for the participation of African partners in this economic event.
The President of the Republic also instructed the government to establish and activate the following bodies within 1 month in accordance with the following guidelines. First, the one-stop shop, which is primarily related to the exclusive act of investing far from centralized or decentralized administrative management. The purpose of its creation is to facilitate investment and overcome the difficulties and obstacles facing investors, particularly bureaucratic ones. It is legally authorized to initiate and monitor all investment-related operations. Second, the setting up of 2 national bodies responsible for imports and exports respectively. They aim to achieve efficiency in management according to the new vision and mechanisms. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Gujil, has extended their condolences to the family of the Council of the Nation member Walid Lagoon, who passed away at the age of 76. He was an expert in constitutional law and was appointed on February 2022 as member of the Council of the Nation as part of the presidential third party. He was also a member of the working group responsible for examining the draft constituency and provincial codes. The third session of the Algerian-Turkish Planning Committee has kicked off here in Algiers under the chairmanship of the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, and his Turkish counterpart, Hakan Fidan. During this session, Diplomacy Chief Ahmed Attaf affirmed that Algerian-Turkish relations cannot be reduced or abbreviated as they are global and integrated, aimed at building bridges of cooperation in various areas of life and serving the objectives and priorities set by the 2 countries. Ahmed Attaf reaffirmed the determination of the 2 countries to strengthen their partnership in different fields, especially in global context marked by strong tensions affecting international multilateralism.
With
the same determination to strengthen this promising partnership in its various dimensions and contents, we pay full attention to consolidate the traditions of political consultation and mutual coordination on various current questions of interest to our 2 brotherly countries. Our world today is undergoing serious upheavals that have not spared any region of our modern international community. The current upheavals affected collective security, economic relations, international legality, as well as the international organizations that regulate multilateral interaction. They affected security and stability of many countries that are paying a high price as a result of the current international tensions, especially in Africa.
Ahmed Attaf also reiterated that Algeria and Turkey support the legitimate fight of the Palestinian people to establish their independent state with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital, calling also for the respect of the unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity of Lebanon and Syria.
Situations such as these undoubtedly make it necessary to strengthen what unities our 2 countries amid political convergences based on permanent compliance with the principles enshrined in the UN Charter and the commitment to favoring dialogue in the resolution of crises and tensions. I am happy with the talks I held with my brother Minister Hakan Fidan, in which we affirmed 2 important elements. First, that Algeria and Turkey remain faithful to the resistance of the Palestinian people and their struggle to achieve their rights and to establish their independent and sovereign state with Quds Sharif as its capital. Second, Algeria and Turkey will continue their efforts to achieve a comprehensive, just, lasting and final peace in the Middle East, a peace that guarantees the preservation of the national unity, territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon and Syria.
For his part, the Turkish foreign minister stressed the excellent level reached by Algerian-Turkish relations in many trade and economic fields through several fruitful investments. Hakan Fidan pointed out that Algeria and Turkey have converged on many international issues amidst the new and important challenges imposed by the current international circumstances. Still in Algeria, the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Mziane, has called for strengthening of national and international legislations to fight against disinformation, stressing that the fight against fake news is a common struggle that requires constant and continuous coordination among African states. Mariam Barshi again.
Attending the opening of the regional workshop of the Liaison Office for North Africa of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services in Africa, CISSA, Communication Minister and representative of the Prime Minister, Mr. Nader Herbawi Mohamed Mziane, stated that disinformation is a continental challenge, not just a national one, and called for a joint African action via platforms for information coordination and debunking lies along with the meeting of digital media.
We will work diligently to coordinate with the relevant authorities to see to it that African countries get involved, because this war is not the war of a single state, but rather the war of the entire continent. All countries on the continent suffer from these smear campaigns that aim to destabilize their internal situations. Among the proposals we have called for is the setting up of an African platform for information coordination, as well as another platform dedicated to debunking lies. At the same time, we must propose a meeting on what is called digital media, as these rumors use the digital space as platform for spreading fake news.
He emphasized the importance of investing in societal awareness, especially among young people, to combat fake news via social media platforms, stressing that this fight must be carried out both on security and media levels while promoting a culture of fact-checking. Mr. Mziane affirmed that Algeria's stability is linked to that of the African continent and highlighted ongoing efforts to protect the national institutions from destabilization campaigns. He noted that despite being targeted by malicious plans, Algeria has successfully countered them through the leadership of President Tebboune, institutional vigilance and media support. He added that Algeria has adopted an integrated strategy focused on strengthening the national media, raising public awareness, especially among youth, and developing advanced tools to detect disinformation while enhancing cooperation with African countries to combat media propaganda.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Ms. Bakhta Salma Mansouri, has stressed that Africa, which has resisted classical colonialism and which is facing up to terrorism, is now being called upon to guard against cognitive colonialism and informational manipulation. Ms. Arshorfi has the details.
She made a statement during a meeting of the Regional Workshop of North Africa Office of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services for Africa, CISSA, held under the theme The Repercussions of Fake News and Disinformation on the Security and Stability of States. In this respect, she said that the theme of the workshop was of highest importance and came at a crucial time for the region, adding that the importance of the specialized framework that opens the way for the exchanges of views and expertise between African security and intelligence services at a time when unconventional threats headed by disinformation are among the greatest cross-border challenges facing African countries. The diplomat stressed that Africa has become an area of this type of silent war, highlighting that in recent years elections have been the prime target of disinformation campaigns in more than 20 African countries. She stressed that Africa must lead in protecting itself from a new form of colonialism, or it risks losing its sovereignty, legitimacy, and cohesion.
The battle of information is a battle for sovereignty, for the legitimacy of the state, and for the unity of societies. If we, through our African security and intelligence agencies, do not take the lead in facing these challenges, we will be facing their consequences on the cohesion of states, the legitimacy of regimes, and the unity of peoples. Africa, which once resisted classical colonialism and now confronts terrorism and economic domination, is today called upon to protect itself against a new form of colonialism, namely cognitive colonialism, digital alienation, and media disruption.
The Secretary of State called on Africans to work together to build a free, sovereign, and secure African information space.
The ICT Africa Summit 2025 has kicked off here in Algiers at the exhibition hall with the participation of over 150 exhibitors, digital industry leaders and innovative startups. Barisha Amina has the details.
The event will focus on the strategic challenges of digital and innovation on the African continent under the theme Unlocking Digital Horizons, as well as how digital technologies can stimulate economic growth, sustainable development, and social transformation on the continent. Discussions will be divided into 4 fora, focusing on the digital transformation of public administrations, technological innovations in the energy sector, digital advances in the health sector, and technological solutions improving the experience of travelers in airport operations.
And to the Middle East now, the Israeli occupation has pursued its bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 3 Palestinians in Khan Yunis in the southern part of the enclave. Several others were wounded in the attack, which targeted notably a tent shelter and displaced in the Al-Mawasi region west of Khan Yunis. Over 51,000 Palestinians have been killed and thousands of others have been displaced since the Israeli army launched its bombardments on the territory. In this connection, UNRWA today affirmed that nothing could justify the collective punishment to which the Palestinian population has been confronted to for over than 1 year and a half. In a message released on social media, the UN agency warned that the humanitarian situation further deteriorates on account of the Israeli blockade. And now Pope Francis, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, has died at the age of 88. Mariam Barshi tells us more.
The Bishop of Rome passed away at 7:35 this morning, which is Easter Monday for Catholics. The Pope was admitted to the Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic Hospital on Friday, February 14, 2025, after suffering from a bout of bronchitis for several days. Pope Francis' clinical situation gradually worsened and his doctors diagnosed bilateral pneumonia on Tuesday, February 18th. After 38 days in hospital, the late Pope returned to his Vatican residence at the Casa Santa Marta to continue his recovery. A day after speaking to crowds during Easter celebrations, Pope Francis passed away on Easter Monday. Let's recall that the Pope condemned Gaza war, stressing solidarity with marginalized communities. Pope Francis' clear stance against Israel's war on Gaza and his daily calls to the Catholic parish of the Strip underscore how much the Pontiff was interested in the world's most marginalized. He was eloquent and very clear against the horror of war and what war causes to the simple people, not the governments or officials, but for the simple people. In November, the Pope suggested the global community should study whether Israel's military campaign in Gaza constitutes genocide of the Palestinian people, in a move that marked a step up in his criticism of Israel's conduct in its year-long war. One of his most symbolic gestures and a particularly striking moment of his pontificate was in April 2019 when he knelt to kiss the feet of South Sudanese leaders at the head of a country grappling with a horrific civil war. As he greeted President Salva Kiir and his rival Riek Machar in the Vatican, the Pope, in his humility, kissed their feet, urging the leaders to lay down their weapons and pursue path of peace.
Well, the death of Pope Francis has triggered a mourning period which involves centuries-old rites. It has also set into motion the process for electing a new pontiff. Conclave can be expected to be held between 15 and 20 days after Francis' death. This is what it is expected after his death. The official duties are carried out by the Pope's Camerlengo and currently Irish-American Cardinal. He is the one who officially confirms the death with a doctor and death certificate. The Vatican said on Easter Monday, hours after announcing his death, that Francis' body would be laid in a coffin in a chapel at his St. Marta residence at 8 p.m. local time. Farewell would be laid later on. And to Sudan now. In South Sudan, the governmental forces have recaptured the city of Nasser, a key point in the escalating political crisis in the country. Last week, the army forces regained control of the neighboring town of Ulang, which was under the control of Mashar's forces. And you're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and that's it for our news bulletin.
Hello and welcome to Echoes of Time. I'm your host Miriam Bershi, and today we travel along the legendary Silk Road. For centuries, a vast network of routes connected the East and the West, shaping the course of history. It was more than just a trade route, it was a highway of civilizations, ideas and cultures. The Silk Road was not a single road, but a vast web of trade routes stretching from China to Europe, passing through Central Asia, Persia, the Middle East and North Africa. Though named after silk, which was a highly sought-after commodity, the route also carried spices, precious metals and art. More than a trade corridor, it was a bridge between cultures, religions and knowledge that shaped the ancient and medieval worlds. Today we will explore its origins, the major goods exchange, the cultural transformations it brought and its eventual decline. The Silk Road's origin traced back over 2,000 years, emerging under the Han Dynasty in China. Emperor Wu of Han sought to expand trade and diplomacy, sending an envoy, Zhang Qian, to explore the lands beyond China's western frontiers. His journeys revealed a vast world eager for trade, leading to the first organized route connecting China with Central Asia and beyond. China's most prized export was silk, a luxury good that fascinated the Roman elite. Meanwhile, China imported horses from Central Asia, glassware from Rome, and spices from India. Over time, the network expanded, linking Persian traders, Arab merchants, and European buyers, creating an early form of globalization. As the route grew, so did the cities that lay along it. Key centers like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Kashgar became bustling hubs where merchants and travelers exchanged not only goods but also ideas. These cities flourished, developing into centers of wealth, art and learning, attracting scholars, traders and religious figures from across continents. Beyond goods, the Silk Road carried ideas, technology and religions that shaped civilizations. China's silk was the most famous product, but spices, tea, porcelain and paper also became valuable exports. The invention of paper-making spread from China to the Middle East and Europe, revolutionizing education and administration. The Persians controlled key parts of the Silk Road and introduced textiles, jewelry, and artistic styles. The Romans in turn exported glassware, wine, and fine metalwork. Buddhism spread from India to China through traveling monks. Zoroastrianism, Christianity, and later Islam also moved across the Silk Road, shaping the spiritual landscape of Eurasia. The Silk Road became more than a trade route. It was a melting pot where cultures met and transformed. One of the most significant cultural exchanges was the transmission of knowledge. The Silk Road became a pathway for scientific advancements, from Persian astronomical knowledge to Indian mathematics and Chinese medicine. The introduction of the Arabic numeral system, which has its roots in India, would eventually reach Europe and transform mathematics. Likewise, paper-making techniques first developed in India spread through the Islamic world, fueling the great centers of learning in Baghdad, Cordoba and Cairo. Moreover, food culture was also transformed. The exchange of crops and agricultural techniques meant that apricots, peaches and pomegranates traveled from Persia to China, while rice and tea from China reached the Middle East and Europe. The flavors of the world blended along the Silk Road, influencing cuisines from Beijing to Constantinople. During the Tang Dynasty, the Silk Road reached its peak. The Tang capital, Changnan, modern-day Chiang, became one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world, hosting merchants, scholars and diplomats from Persia, India and the Middle East. The Abbasid Caliphate also played a crucial role, turning Baghdad into an intellectual hub where Greek, Persian and Indian knowledge was translated and preserved. However, as empires flourished, so did conflicts. The Byzantines and Sassanids frequently fought over the trade routes, while nomadic groups like the Mongols would later reshape the Silk Road entirely. While economic trade flourished, so did cultural and artistic expression. This period saw the blending of Chinese, Persian and Greco-Roman artistic styles, particularly in textiles, pottery and architecture. Silk Road motifs influenced Islamic art, Buddhist temple designs and European decorative patterns. This cross-cultural artistic exchange left an enduring legacy that is still evident in modern art and design. Despite success, the Silk Road faced challenges. Wars and invasions made travel dangerous. The fall of the Mongol Empire in the 14th century led to further disruptions. The bubonic plague spread along trade routes, devastating populations and weakening trade. With the aid of exploration from the 15th to the 16th century, European powers sought direct sea routes to Asia, reducing reliance on overland trade. Though the Silk Road declined, its impact remains. It laid the foundation for global trade, influenced world cultures, and left a legacy still seen in modern China's Belt and Road Initiative. The Silk Road also had a lasting impact on human migration. Many ethnic groups such as the Uyghurs, Tajiks, and Persians have roots in the movement of peoples along these routes. Their languages, traditions, and cultural heritage still reflect the rich diversity created by centuries of Silk Road exchanges. Even today, in the markets of Istanbul, Tehran, and Jayan, echoes of the Silk Road's bustling past can still be found. From the deserts of Central Asia to the palaces of Rome, the Silk Road shaped the world in ways still visible today. It was a highway of ideas, a bridge of civilizations, and a testament to human curiosity and ambition. Though the caravans are gone, the echoes of their journeys remain in history. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Echoes of Time. Until next time, keep exploring the echoes of the past.
And now the UN Trade and Development Agency urged U.S. President Donald Trump's administration on Monday to exclude the poorest and smallest economies from reciprocal tariffs because it would have minimal impact on United States trade policy objectives. Trump imposed steep import tariffs from 11% to 50% on 57 trading partners, including the European Union, on April 9th, only to pause the duties hours later for 90 days for all of them but China. The pause has cut the rate for those states to 10%, a level he had imposed on nearly all other countries. The UN agency, known as UNCTAD, said the pause offered a critical moment to consider exempting small, vulnerable economies and least developed countries from tariffs that offer little to no advantage for U.S. trade policy while potentially causing serious economic harm abroad. In a Policy Insight report, it said some of the countries listed among the 57 trading partners threatened with reciprocal tariffs. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and now the headlines. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers during which several decisions have been taken, notably the bill on general mobilization. The third session of the Algerian-Turkish Planning Committee has kicked off here in Algiers under the chairmanship of Diplomacy Chief Ahmed Attaf and his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan. The Israeli occupation forces have pursued bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 3 Palestinians in Khan Yunis in the southern part of the enclave. And that's it for our news bulletin. I would like to thank our producer Majid Balkhadim and Nafhi Nabil, who is in charge of the live streaming of today's bulletin, and Hadron on the technical board. Thank you so much, our listeners, for being with us today, and we'll be with you again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Algiers time.
مع إذاعة الجزائر الدولية لن تفوتكم لحظة واحدة من الأخبار السياسية والاقتصادية الهامة. إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.